me tell you what some of those things could be. Some of those things could be friends. Sometimes we get so focused on our friends and what they think is cool or what they think is important that we get swept up in that. And we care more about that than we care about God. That could be a problem. Sometimes electronics, media, technology competes for our attention with God. Many of you might text. Anybody in here have phones where you text? Okay? Some of you probably on the computer quite a bit when you go home. Maybe you're blogging or maybe you're doing other things and even using the computer for homework. And all of these things, television, music. How many of you have an iPod? Okay? Almost all of you. Listen, these things compete for our attention with God. There is nothing wrong with technology. There is nothing wrong with your friends. But what happens is this, is we tend to start paying more attention to electronics, iPods, music, our friends, than we do to what God says. And then, sometimes people even get focused on education or sports. As we've been talking about all week long, there are some people who, man, you know exactly what team they are for. You don't have to wonder. They're always wearing the latest Kane jersey. They're always in the colors of green and orange. They are always about their team. And there's nothing wrong with sports. There's nothing wrong with cheering on your team. There's nothing wrong with being a great fan. But I have to tell you that sometimes people worship their sport or they worship their education. They got to get another degree or they got to do really well. And so all their time, all their energy, everything goes into that sport. It goes into that education. It goes into their friends. It goes into their technology. All of their time goes into that. All of their passion goes into that. And Jesus is saying, well, what about me? Where am I on your list? You see, a lot of us say, oh, Jesus is number one. Yeah, he's number one. But to be number one means that he's at the top of the list. But for many of us, even though we say Jesus is number one, we spend more time and energy on all these other things than we do for God. Our attention for God and the things of God oftentimes gets crowded out by all this other good stuff. And so we end up doing a lot of good stuff with our life instead of the best stuff. Anybody in here drink Snapple? Anybody? Yeah, I love Snapple, especially the kiwi strawberry. I love kiwi strawberry stuff. And you know what Snapple's slogan is? Anybody know? Anybody know? Yeah, what is it? The best tasting stuff on earth. Because here's why it's the best tasting stuff on earth. It's because it's made from the best stuff on earth. That's what they say. That it's made from the best stuff on earth. They take all the best, they crunch it all down and liquefy it, and they put it in the bottle, and they're like, you are drinking the best stuff on earth because it's made from the best stuff on earth. And I think, wow, I want the best. And so when I'm drinking a sample, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, man, I am drinking the best stuff on earth right here. But a lot of us, we say we love God and we love Jesus, and yet we don't give Him the best. We give Him kind of what's left over. And so, we go home, and the first thing we do when we get home is we get a snack. How many of you do that? Go home, get a snack. Yeah, man, Rice Krispie treats, chocolate chip cookies, popsicles, right? Chips and salsa. Liver and onions. No, I'm just kidding. But the thing is this, is that, man, when we go home, and I remember when I was a kid, and I would come home from school, and my grandmother had made some fresh, chocolate chip cookies, and they'd be sitting there on the plate, and you could smell it right when you walk in the door, and you're just like, oh, right? Oh, it's like, heaven, I'm in heaven. And it's like, wow. This is so, so good. And here's the thing, is that sometimes we look around us and we think, oh, this is so, so good. And it is, it's great, but it only lasts for a little while. I mean, there's only, so many cookies. And then tomorrow I'm going to need some more cookies, and then the next day I'm going to need something else. I want another snack, I want another, thing to kind of satisfy me because, well, it didn't last. And you see, that's how it is in this world. And this world kind of tricks us into thinking, oh, if you have this, you will be happy. If you have this, you will be satisfied. And so this is what we do. We take Jesus, who was supposed to be number one, and we kind of move him down to like third or fourth. And we're like, oh, God, I want all the best stuff on this earth. Made from the best stuff on this earth. And so I'm going to go after this, and I'm going to go after that. And what happens is this, is that little by little, Jesus, who was number one, is now number 7 or 8. And we kind of move him down. Back in a long time ago, and you guys might not even know what this website is. It's called Myspace. And it's basically non-existent now. But many years ago, Myspace was the happening thing until Facebook came along. And then Facebook kind of took over, and you know what? Now Facebook is kind of dying out, and there's going to be something else to replace that. But many years ago, Myspace was the happening space to be. And on Myspace, they had this little block right here on the left-hand side of the screen. And what could happen is this, is that you could put your top 8 friends in that box. The people that you were always, checking their page, and you wanted to get their feeds and their updates, you could put them in that little block right there, and you could have your top 8. And man, people were so excited to check the page and see who was number 1 on your page. Would I be number 1, or would I be number 2 or 3 or 4 or 8? But we were all just excited just to be in that little top 8. Right there. Only 8 people could be there. The best of the best. And I think for some of us, we have our own space. This is my space. My life is my space. And God and Jesus are saying, am I your number 1? Or am I even in the top 8? Or am I even in your space at all? You see, God doesn't just want to be part of my space. He wants to be my everything. He wants to occupy every thought, every action. He wants to control our mouths. He wants to control our hands, our feet. He wants to control our lives. But we have to give our lives to Him and say, God, you are in control. You are number 1. But we live in a place where there's competition for number 1. Everybody in this room understands competition. You all understand that. When you go out to play a game, what do you want to do? Win! Exactly! There's nobody who's going out there and saying, well, let's just lose. Right? Yeah, let's not even try. Let's just, let's let the other team win. Let's do that. There's nobody in this room who's going to be part of a team that is going to say, we just want to lose. That's what we want our legacy to be. Let's just be losers. Right? No! You want to win! That's what competition is all about. And so, because we all understand competition, and so does the devil, he understands that he is in competition with God. And he is trying to win your heart. He is trying to win your mind. He is trying to win in your life. And he's going to do whatever he can do to keep you from accomplishing God's very best on this earth. Because, you see, the devil doesn't want God to be number 1. The devil, he doesn't even want to be number 1 necessarily, just as long as God is not number 1. Oh, the devil would be happy if technology was number 1 for you, or education was number 1 for you, or sports was number 1 for you. Anything but God. And you see, God is saying this. There's only one number 1 spot in your life. Only one. And only one person or one thing can occupy that number 1 spot in my space. Only one. And God is saying, I want to be that number 1. But you've got to let God be number 1.